Good morning, guys. Noah here. I've been sitting here for probably about an hour. I woke up right around maybe 5. Did a little reading, and I couldn't really go back to sleep, so I just came to sit in the kitchen, made some coffee, and just kind of started reflecting, thinking about life, thinking about everything that's going on, and thinking about life, where I'm thinking about my friends and all that. And I want to tell you a pretty crazy story, really interesting story. In my line of work, especially as a leader, sometimes I go to meetings and, you see a lot of people have a lot to say, especially the guys. Everyone has something to say. Everyone wants to prove themselves. And a lot of times, what I try to do, I try to be very conscientious. So a lot of times I would look around the room and look out for the people who don't say much or who are very quiet. Some people just are like that. They just want to come in, do their work. They're not trying to argue or do anything. They're very quiet. So a lot of times what I would do is I would actually kind of call on the quietest people in the room and say, hey, what are your thoughts? What do you have to say? Kind of to give them an opportunity to say something. And a lot of times they tend to have the most profound things to say. And a pretty crazy story I want to tell you. About a few months ago, I went to a party, and, I knew most of the people at this party, hanging out, kicking it. And I noticed a young man sitting kind of all by himself on a couch. Nobody was talking to him. He wasn't saying much. He was just, I think, drinking water. He was just alone, nobody was acknowledging him or nothing. So, and I'd never seen him before. So I walked up to him and I said, hey, my name's Noah. What's your name? I introduced myself. And, I asked him what he wanted to drink. He was just drinking water. So I noticed that his cup was actually almost empty. So I didn't ask. I just went to the kitchen, fetched another cup of water, and brought it to him. And I started talking to this guy, and he was the quietest guy in the room. Didn't say much until I started engaging with this guy, and it turned out that he was incredibly smart, very successful guy, very accomplished. He was here in town to visit a friend of his, a business partner, with whom he owns a few properties. So I find out he's also in real estate and things like that. So I was very intrigued. I was very curious, because I'm trying to kind of get into real estate. So I'm trying to learn more about the industry. I don't know much about it. I don't know anything about investing. And this guy actually turned out to be profoundly knowledgeable about investments, assets acquisition. And so I decided to exchange information and connect with him afterwards. I met up with him the next day, grabbed a beer, talked, and I was just blown away by the sheer knowledge that this guy had. I told him I wanted to learn about investments. I wanted to learn about assets acquisition. I want to acquire assets, and I just don't know about that world. My world has always been technology. That's all I knew. And so this guy goes back to Arizona. We talk on the phone a few times, and the craziest thing that came out of that new friendship was this guy came across a wonderful opportunity, called me and says, hey, I know that you've been wanting to acquire assets and learn about this. It's an opportunity. Whatever you think you want to invest into this opportunity to learn about the industry, that's fine. Even if it's $500, I don't care. I want to give you an opportunity to learn. And for the first time in my life, I have an asset, right? They say a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket, and an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. And for the first time in my life, I did my first investment ever that actually put money into my pocket because of the quietest guy in the room. Very smart guy, very kind, very humble, very conscientious, very smart. And nobody was talking to him. It turned out he had the most to offer. And he gave me one of the opportunities I've never had in my life, actually, to own an asset that puts money into my pocket. So if you know some quiet people in the room, pay attention to them. Because most often they have a lot to offer, and they have the most profound things to say. And a lot of times they also have some value to add to your life. Have a good day.